Check, check. Chickadee, check yourself or you wreck yourself. Hello, hello. What do you know? Cynthia and Dawn are here.
Hi, Zach.
Welcome. Hang on, let me check my audio settings because I can't hear anybody. Aha.
No, Zach.
Check. Can you hear me now?
I hear you. Can you hear
Wait
me?
Wait a second. Speakers. There we go. Can you hear me now?
I hear
Yeah.
you.
Yay.
Can you hear us?
There we go. This thing was speaker and microphone at the same time. So obviously that doesn't work very well. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Not surprised it's the three of us yet again.
Have you talked to anybody else or?
Yeah, I mean they message me here and there. But they're just watching the replays, working on stuff, and when they have a problem, they message me. And that's kind of typical. I mean, even when I've done huge coaching groups, that's like 20% of people actually take advantage of talking to me all the time.
Right.
80,
I talk
20
to you all
rule.
the time.
Yeah.
Did you see did you see my email?
Yeah, I just haven't had a chance to get you today. I don't do a ton on Mondays because I've got Phoenix all day. So I tend to do most stuff Tuesday through Friday.
That's fine. I just want to make sure you got it.
Yeah, I'll check it tomorrow and get back to you.
No problem.
So if you guys remember, we are going to do, let me pull it up here. Hopefully you remember. Goals review.
Oh.
You're like, what? So start thinking about them if you are like, what? Really? I'll chat through this really quick. I just have three quick little things here that'll be helpful. And then even if, you're not fully prepared to do review goals, you can still review goals on your own. You don't need me to review your goals for you, but you could have a goal or stuck somewhere. I mean, the point of me, right, is to help you get unstuck when you're stuck somewhere and to give you some good guidance. So this is all from Michael Hyatt, but so every time I'm looking at goals and creating goals and writing goals, he always says the same thing. Make sure your goals have these specific traits in them, right? Which is make sure your goal is very specific. Like if it's a financial goal and it's an income goal, I want to make $100,000. I want to make $4,000 a month. Whatever the goal is, it's got to be very specific, very strategic. I want 6 clients a month. So then when you get 4, you know if you're too short of your goal, right? So very important to have very specific goals. Next, he says measurable. You want to make sure that a goal is something that can be measured in size and scope, and something that you can break down into pieces, and it's not too arbitrary, right? So you can actually measure out what that goal is going to look like. And I remember the first time I set a income goal, it was literally to make $100,000 a year. And I knew exactly what it was going to take to do that. And actually that would be a good example to walk through this goal setting variables using that 2007 goal I had. So relaunching the business, you guys heard that story. 2008, I said in 5 years, that was my goal, was to make $100,000. And I did it in 2 months. But part of that was because I was so oriented on what exactly I needed to do, which was very specific goal. I wanted to make $100,000. Then it was, okay, how do I measure that? Do I measure that by how many weddings do I need to shoot versus how much do I make per wedding? Okay. So I focused on that really, really heavy. I said, if I want to make $100,000, I need to start at close to $3,000. That means I need to have around 30 plus weddings, somewhere in that range. I need to make sure I have a lot of profit built in, and some people, or 80% of people, upgrade in some capacity. They need to buy a little bit more, $400, $500, $600 more worth of stuff. Well, now I had a very specific and measurable goal, right? that goal was also very actionable because then I said, well, what do I need to get 33 weddings? Well, what do I need to get 33 weddings is I need, I needed 5 partners that were each going to send me 4 or 5 weddings, photographers, some sort of past clients, and then weddings and venues that were all sending me 4 to 5 weddings a piece. That was going to get me those 30 weddings. If I could just get that, now I had a very actionable goal. It was like I knew exactly who I needed to attack and how to exactly execute, right? I've got to win them over. So I started reading Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I was like, I got to find out what those people want. I've got to be, focused on their needs instead of my own needs. Because what I want from them is to send me weddings, but they're not going to do that unless I figure out how to help them, et cetera, et cetera. Then I love this. He says, risky, right? You got to have a risky goal. And to me, making $100,000 was risky because it was risky because I'd only ever made $12,000 a year. That was the most money I'd ever made up until 2008. So I'd only made $12,000 a year was the most amount of money I'd ever made. So this was actually kind of an overblown goal. Most people shouldn't set a goal quite that crazy because I had no past experience to prove that I could actually do it. But I was like, man, can I be in the 10 percentile? I thought, sure, like that's possible. It's not, ridiculous to believe that I could do that. Okay. So risky is important. It has to like have an element of, man, I'm going to have to try really hard to do this. Okay. Time keyed, which is it has to have time attached to it. By the end of the quarter, I need to blank. Or for me, it was a 5-year plan, but I executed that 5-year plan within 2 to 3 weeks. I knew everything I needed to do. And I didn't realize the time key I attached to it, which was 5 years, I didn't need that. It only took me 60 days to actually do it. Needs to be exciting. So it has to make you feel like, man, I'm stoked to try to do this. This feels good. And then lastly, it needs to be relevant, which just means, when he says relevant, I don't know exactly what he means by that other than it has to be beneficial to my life, right? There has to be a purpose for it, some relevance to my purpose and vision. Okay, 2 more quick things. Goals for life and business. Don't just set business goals, So set financial goals, family goals, personal development goals, health goals, business goal, and pro tip, just pick one goal in each of those categories. Because if you have financial goals, that's a lot. It's just really hard to get goals accomplished. It's not that hard or that crazy to get a goal accomplished, which is I want to double my income. I want to have 4 more hours a week with my family. Okay. And I want to leverage those 4 hours for something beneficial. I want to have some personal development where I read a business book a month or I read a personal development book a month or whatever it is. I want to have a health goal where I eat more protein and greens and I eat less sugar, and then you get, then you go through that same process, which is, well, be specific. What do you mean? Well, I'm going to only eat 10 grams of sugar a day. Now you're getting specific. Now you know what you're reaching towards, right? So real specific. And then a business goal, right? And notice I put business at the bottom because if you don't have family and personal development and health, what is this going to help you with anyway? Like, you're going to be unhealthy. Your family's going to be unhealthy. You're going to be unhealthy mentally, physically, emotionally, everything. And it's not going to be very great to have executed some good business goals and to feel like crap, you know what I mean? And not feel good about yourself. Okay. Lastly, goal achievement strategy. We talked about this on week 1. We're going to talk about it again, because this is, I think a lot of people sort of just veer off their goals and get stuck in whatever's going on that week, which is a couple of things. So when I write a goal, this comes right from the Full Focus Planner. He says, write a statement for your goal that has to do with the specific, measurable, actionable, risky, time keyed, exciting. So you write out a specific goal that says something like, I want to make $15,000 a month coaching in my coaching business, because that's risky. That's more than I've ever done. It's exciting. It gets me out of bed and I want to help a lot of people. You're writing a statement. This is my why statement. Why do I want this thing? and it's going to help me be free financially or whatever. Okay. Then he says, write out your key motivations. Like, what are the things that are going to make your life better because of that? So if I was writing out a health, like let's say a health or fitness, okay. So let's call that a fitness goal, dietary goal. What would be the key motivators for that? And what would be, well, I just feel better. I have more energy. When I started getting in shape back in 2016, I said it was because I wanted to keep up with my son, who was 3 or 4 at the time. And he was running around and I was tired all the time. I was like, oh, I can't even keep up with this kid. And holy crap, I'm not getting any younger. If I don't start getting in shape now, I'm screwed. I'm going to fall apart. And so I was like, that was a key motivator, was my son, to keep up with my son, to have energy for my family. You know what I mean? Like, that's a great motivator. So write out the motivators, right? Like, maybe you want to make money because you don't want to have to sell your home, or maybe you want to make more money because you want to go on vacation with your family and vacation time is important. You want to make an extra $10,000 this year to go on 2 really amazing vacations. Those are great key motivators. Okay. Then he says, write out the main steps, the main next steps. Like, what do I have to do? What are the next 3 things I need to do? Like the big picture things. I need to, build relationships with these people. I need to work on my pricing structures. I need to update my portfolio and website to meet this photography goal. Like, those are some of those are the next big steps that have to get accomplished. Then he says, this is really cool. Write out your celebration action. When you accomplish the goal, what are you going to do? How are you going to treat yourself? How are you going to celebrate this thing? And I think this is something a lot of people miss. Like, they do something really great and they don't celebrate it. So I remember in 2012, it was weird because Jody and I actually had to go to marriage counseling to celebrate the success we had. But it wasn't a planned success, but it just was like this amazing year. All this great stuff happened. I mean, we were obviously trying to do all these things, but we were like on Creative Live and our photography business did really well. And we were selling like this business course that we came out with and all this crazy stuff. And we made $400,000 in income that year. And it was like, that's bonkers. At that time, we were in the top 2% of wage earners in the world. And I was like, when you start getting to the top 5, top 3, top 2%, top 1%, then the people everybody talk about, they're not the top 1%. They are the top 1% of the 1%, like the Elon Musks of the world. They're in the 0.1%. Those people are in another stratosphere of success. So we hit the top 2%. And I was like, this is amazing. We should do something. And I was like, I want to buy a brand new motorcycle. I've been riding motorcycles my whole life. The last bike I had was one I paid $400 for when I was 18 years old. I had gotten rid of it when Jody and I got married because it was a piece of crap, And I was like, I want a brand new Harley Davidson Sportster 48, And she was like, that's insane, because we were so conservative with money. I was like, really? It's not though. 15 grand, which is what the bike cost, is like 4% of what we made, or 4 or 5%. Like, this is not ridiculous. So then we decided the way we were going to celebrate was I was going to spend like 15 grand on something. She spent $15,000 on something. So we both did. I bought the Harley and she bought a new wedding ring, this insane $15,000 ring. And I was like, hey, that's actually not a bad idea because the diamond holds the investment and the motorcycle just crashes and burns, real quick. But the point of the story is this: you do something, whether that's $1,000 success, whether that's booking a client, a client a month for 3 months, or making 100 grand, you got to celebrate. Because when you celebrate, you're like, this is awesome. This is maybe just have a dinner party at your house, whatever it may be. Celebrate your successes, and it makes that really, really, really fun. It's like, there's a reason you have a wedding anniversary or a birthday party for your kid. You're celebrating a milestone, and it's meaningful. Then he says, last couple things real quick, track your progress. So say you break it down into 10, milestones that you need to get to this goal over 3 months. Every time you hit a milestone, track it. Hey, I'm 10% there. I'm 20% there. I'm 30% there. You can start seeing it tick down and you go, man, I'm on my way to achieving this goal. Then he says, you set weekly milestones towards your goal. So what do I need to do this week that's going to get me to the goal? So maybe a goal is 6 big steps. Each of those steps, you kind of break it down. You spend some time on this. Like it might take about a week, say, on it as an example, to get to this goal. It's 6 steps over 6 weeks. Then write that out. And then every day when you go to work and you're working on your business or on your health or on your fitness or on your family stuff or whatever the thing is you're working on, he says, set 3 goals. That's it for the day. He calls it the big 3. 3 things that if I got these 3 things done today, I am staying on track to make my goal come to fruition. That's it. And then if I get anything else done today, it's like, wow, this was a really good day because I got extra stuff done. So that's the process that Michael Hyatt walks people through to set goals. Questions or comments, and then give me some ideas of some goals you're working on and where you guys think you're at with some of those goals.
You want to go, Dawn?
No, go ahead, Cindy.
Okay, so I haven't had a whole lot of time this week to work on stuff. I went to the Colorado Springs huddle. So that was quite a few days of being just really busy with lots of different things. But I was able to work on a couple of things because we talked about those. And then the goals, I just need to sit down this week. That's going to be my goal this week, is sit down and write some goals.
I mean, that can be a goal literally in and of itself, is can I set aside time to work on the thing that I want to accomplish? And if you were just like, think about 3, 4, 5 things that you could potentially become a goal, what do you think is the highest priority one? Like, what is the biggest, most important thing that in the next, 60 days that you really, really want to accomplish? Because we're on day 60 of this coaching, believe it or not. This is week 8, or this will be 60 days. So what would you say over the next 60 days? Man, if I could do this, that would be outstanding. What do you think it would be?
Get my first paying clients.
Okay. I would put that down as a goal over 60 days and then do what we just talked about, which is write that out as a goal. In 60 days, I want X amount of paying clients. Say it's 3, maybe that's like pushing yourself a little bit. Instead of just 1, you'd like take it up a few notches because that makes it a little more dangerous, right? A little bit of a dangerous goal, but that's 100% doable. And then let's start looking at what are the things that are missing that are going to get the milestones, right? You may be able to quickly identify 2 or 3. It could be, I got to update some pricing. I've got to get a partnership, and I've got to blank, write those things out. And then let's break those into some weekly goals that over the next 8 weeks, you can actually accomplish based on how much time you actually have to work on it.
Yeah.
All right. So next week, set some time aside this week. And next week, I want to hear, this is how I think I'm going to get to that goal. And then as you start working on it, if we get stuck, that's where I can help.
Okay.
Great. Love it. I think that's outstanding. So set aside time this week. Goal number 1 is, what time can I set aside, and be hyper specific? I'm going to look at my calendar, and I'm realizing right now I'm looking at my calendar, and Friday at 3:00, I've got 2 hours. That's plenty of time to sit down. I'm going to spend 30 to 40 minutes fleshing out this goal. I'm going to spend the next 90 minutes breaking that goal into the 4, 5, 6 action steps that I need to take, and then the little sub pieces that need to go into place. And then I'm going to set aside this much time each week to work on this specific goal to get this goal across the finish line.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Yes. Okay. Don, what about you?
Well, I actually accomplished 2 goals this week that I had for myself. One was to get the checklist to you,
Okay.
which we're working on. The other one was,
And that's
remember
a
I
client
told,
flow kind of checklist, right? I
right,
glanced at it. I just haven't looked at the whole thing yet.
yeah, yeah. That was one of my main goals, was to get that checklist done and get you to kind of look at it and see if there's anything I need to tweak. My
Okay.
other goal was, I told you about, we have like community potlucks and all that
Yeah.
here. Well, we had one on Saturday. My goal for that was to talk to a minimum of 10 people. Just get to know my neighbors. I talked to probably almost 50 people.
Holy cow.
My neighbor Samantha, the one I told you that's the president of it, she kind of threw me under the bus. But it helped. She said, okay.
Wait. In what way?
Well, she had one of the other board members come over and say, hey, Dawn, I heard, because I volunteered to help set up and break it down. Hey, I heard you volunteered. Do you want to go ahead and volunteer and hand out name tags? Samantha knew by making me do that, I had to talk to everybody that walked in that pavilion.
So it was helpful.
It was very helpful. And it was fun. Got to know my neighbors. When I found a way to kind of, one of the issues I always had with them is because I don't ride horses. They all do. They kind of shy away from you. So one of the girls said, so do you ride? And I said, unfortunately, due to a neck injury, I can't. I said, so my next best thing is I photograph them.
I like that. Yeah.
And she went, really? I said, yeah, I did a shoot for Samantha. She goes, I saw that on Facebook.
Oh, nice.
So we were talking back and forth. I said, let me know if, let's get together. We can talk about it. See if you want to do the same thing. And I gave her my card. I have my card, my card's in my back pocket. Only gave out the cards when somebody really, really showed interest. But then
Mhm.
I talked to this other lady that actually owns a campground within our community. And she just put 2 new cabins on the property. She's setting up RV, like 6 RV spots.
Yeah.
And when I mentioned I was a photographer, and she goes, okay, we need to get together. I said, okay. She said, I need photographs when I'm done with this. She said, I can't take
Yeah. She needs some
photographs.
marketing material.
Yep. She said, I can't take photos to save my life. And I said, let's get together in the next couple of weeks and let me see how I can help you. What we can do to get your business really out there and moving. So we're going to do that.
Love that.
Yep.
Cool. Well, I think that's great. I've just been, so let's, think about next step goals. You've got some of these goals accomplished. It's like, heck yeah, you're out there
Thank
connecting
God.
with people.
Yeah.
You're working on your client flow, which is killer. And I've had a new goal, which is, there's a lot going on for me. And I've had this tendency to sort of like tune things out. Like when my kids weren't here, it's like, it's easier to just like not think about anything because you don't want to think about stuff. But what's smarter to do is actually to occupy your time with things that are positive inputs, right? So I'm like, man, I'm just like, when I wasn't working or when I wasn't with the kids, I was just doing negative or neutral input, just brain dead stuff because it keeps the mind occupied and forces you not to do anything. And I was like,
Right.
this is not good. So last week I was like, I need to pull out a book I've read in the past that I love, and I need to do some personal development, right? Because this is what I need right now more than anything else is personal development. And what could that be? And I was like, I'm doing a sales pitch on Wednesday for D1 Sports, which is a huge franchise company for this side coaching business I have. That's a personal development coaching brand that I'm also working on. And I was like, oh, maybe I should pick up, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. I know so much stuff about the book, but I haven't read it like front to back since probably 2007 or something. I was like, I should just read that whole book again. And I picked it up. And as soon as I started reading it, because I've learned so much since then from so many other books, about so many other things, about business and personal development, you name it. I was like, wait a minute. Almost everything I know is in this book. I don't know if I didn't learn it from this book because I didn't understand it all at the time, but it's in here. And I was like, this is maybe the only book anybody ever needs to read, period. For personal development, for business development. I mean, this book is just gold. So a couple of things I wanted to share really quick that I was taking notes on from just the first 3 chapters really quick. Because my goal is always to iterate on myself, right? I said, after I went through my first divorce and with Jody and worked on myself and all this stuff I worked on, finally stuck around, I said, I became Zach 2.0, a better version of myself. And I'm like, okay, well, what's next? 3.0, right? You want to always be working on the next iteration of yourself, just like you'd upgrade a piece of software. You don't upgrade yourself, you go out of date real quick. And any of us that have parents or had parents, right, that were older, and you realize like there was a point where they just stopped developing. Like they wore clothes from 1970 and they talked in ways where you were just like, what in the world? You're just like, come on, or you have friends like this that just don't change over a decade in a bad way, right? They're not developing themselves to be better versions of themselves. So I always want to be doing that. So 3 quick things that I was realizing this week. I just spent a few hours a day actually reading Dale Carnegie's book and just kind of meditating on it and thinking about it. Chapter number 1, never criticize anyone for any reason. And he goes through so many examples of why criticism simply just does not work in any capacity whatsoever. It doesn't work with a spouse. It doesn't work with your kids. The only thing it does, and that it does really quick, is make people defensive as soon as you criticize them. He even told one story where there's this group of wives from a church group, and all the women it's like a self-development women's group. And one of the goals is go home and ask your husband, hey, can you give me a list of a few things, 5 or 6 things that you think I could work on and I could do better to be a better wife? And this husband she calls him at work and says, hey, when you come home, can you give me this list? And he's like, let me think about it, which is a wise answer. He didn't answer right away. He just said, let me think about it. Hangs up the phone. And then he has this epiphany. He goes, what benefit is it going to be for me to tell my wife, you don't really keep the house that well, even though she's asking for it or whatever the thing was, like, you don't really, all she's going to feel is like, holy crap, what's going to be a better motivator? Anything other than criticism. So instead he goes to the grocery store, goes to the flower shop, and he gets 6 roses. And he says, instead of 5 or 6 things to develop, I wanted to give you 6 roses and say, you're just the most amazing person. And I love you exactly for who you are. And then that just motivated her to want to be an even better version of herself. Great story. So number 1, never criticize. Number 2, show genuine appreciation and never flatter anyone. And he says the difference between appreciation and flattery is flattery comes from here and appreciation comes from here. You have to study other people. Everybody that you can find something to appreciate about them. And it may just be the way they responded to something. It may not even be how they responded, but maybe it was their heart behind it. It can be anything. You can find something about anyone to appreciate. And the people that are the worst performers in every part of life, if he says in the book, he says the thing that that's universal between all people is the desire to feel important, to feel valued, to have somebody look at you and go, you have value. I see value in you. And here's what the value is that I see in you. And he says, we go days, weeks, months, or even years with our spouses, children, coworkers, without ever showing them genuine appreciation. Number 2, last one is stop being interested in what you want and get interested in what other people want and how you can help them get it. And what the chapter of the book is arouse an eager want. What he means is what benefit does it do you to try to even plead to somebody's better nature about the thing that you want? Why should they care? They want to know, how are you going to help them? And I know I literally was like, man, I did all these things in my photography business when I started. I did this with wedding planners, other photographers, and every bride that sat down with me. And my business just exploded. I went to planners and I sat down with them and I said, even when I wrote them that note, you remember the phrasing? You guys probably remember me saying it. I said, me and Jody, we'd love to sit down with you for a cup of coffee on us and find out what we can do for your business. Nobody talked to them that way. They were like, most people go, can you put me on your list and refer me to your people? And then when we sat down, we said, tell me about your business. And then I actually literally said, what is it that you want from photographers that you're not getting? We literally asked them that and they said, we just want pictures. They never even send us pictures. I'm like, photographers don't send you pictures? That's what they do. And I said, well, you know what's really interesting is, because then it says, Dale Carnegie says, how do you help them get it? I said, we have a policy. 48 hours is the maximum. If you don't have all of the venue photos in 48 hours, we have failed, and we get everybody their photos within 48 hours. And I just said it like with a plan. I just said that. I mean, I had never done that. And then I decided that's what we're going to do. So as soon as we shot a wedding, first thing I did was I got all the venue shots, put them in a folder, sent them off to the planner. And I said, holy crap, you're the most amazing thing ever. Thank you so much. Here's all the venue shots. Once I get a few more bride and groom shots, I'll send them over to you as well. But I just like, how easy is it to grab those shots, edit them really quick, and just send them off to the planner? Piece of cake. And then I was like, hey, do you want 8x10s? Do you want something to hang on your wall? I'll order it for you. My treat. And they were like, really? I would make books and prints and just bring them to the planners. And they would have all these photos to just like physically show to their brides. And they loved it. I did the same thing with photographers. I said, hey, I'd love to have lunch with you because I can't shoot every wedding. We're getting all these weddings and I'm going to send some of them to you. Is that interesting to you? And is that something you'd want? And they were like, yeah, I want more weddings. I was like, great. Got together with them and said, I'd love to send you weddings. Let's make a calendar. And anytime I'm unavailable, I can check the calendar. And if you're available, I'll send you the wedding. How does that sound? They were like, heck yeah. Then they just started sending me a ton of weddings and I sent them weddings. And I made tens of thousands of dollars off of like 2 lunches that I spent $40 on the lunches over years. People just send me weddings for years. My friend Evan Baines and Evan Crable sent me weddings for years. Amazing. Arouse an eager want. What do other people want? And how do I give it to them? And that's a great question to ask people. Like, what is it that you're looking for? What do you want? I used to even say to brides when they sat down with me, I said, tell me what you're looking for when it comes to your wedding photography. Because other photographers are like, I'm going to do what I do. And I'm the artist and I'm the creative and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, cool. As long as people book you, that's great. But of course I'm going to do my thing. And that's why they're coming, because they like my pictures and they saw some of my photos or something. But it's still their wedding and their story. And they're the ones that matter. And it's all about how I said those things. And when brides heard that, they went, oh, I kind of envisioned this. And I would go, you know what? That's exactly what we do. And we're going to do that for you. And then I would tell them a story, the Stephen and Scarlett story. And I would go, your story has this much value too. And I can't wait to tell it. And they were just like, oh. They were so excited because I was focused on them. So as you guys are out there too, just this week, working on goals, you're meeting new people, Dawn, Cynthia, you're working on like, I want to, develop some relationships to get these 3 paid gigs in the next 60 days, whatever it may be. Keep these things in mind. Don't criticize people. Show genuine appreciation for them that actually comes from your heart. You have to really mean it because people can tell. And then find out what people want and give it to them and like figure out how to give it to them. And I used to do this with people I met just in general, like venues and planners before I had relationships with them, where we would meet up at an event and I would just talk to them. I'd go, tell me about your business. Tell me what your biggest struggles are. Like what's causing you the most pain in your business? They would tell me. And then I would mail them a book with the answer in it, highlighted. And they flipped out. They were just like, what? he remembered that. Like I'd say, hey, give me your business card. I'd write it on the back of the business card. Hey, so-and-so planner, social media is her biggest struggle. And then I'd send her a book on how to do social media with a bunch of stuff highlighted in it. Those people like loved me forever, for years. Even after I stopped shooting weddings, they still sent me weddings. And it was amazing. So any other questions about goal setting, anything? Other than if we get off this call right now, you could spend 27 minutes, 26 minutes, because it's supposed to be a 55, 58-minute call max, right? Working on some of these goals right now. Yes. That's what I'm talking about, Don. Your
I
mic
have them
stopped
written
working?
out. Yeah, I have them written out. So
Yes.
it's just
Well, you've
putting
got
them
the
on.
planner. Cynthia's got the planner.
I've got my planner. It's in the other room. I just bring it out tonight. I do have my planner. It's not the
Right
same
here.
one.
Yeah.
But-
I mean, it can be anything. I like the planners because it's all in there for me, but killer.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
But-
good marching orders for the week.
I told you, anytime I'm in a shoot or anything or talking to people, I hear you in the back of my head. But when you were talking about that, that's the same thing that the dad said of that senior shoot I did. You listened
Yeah.
to my daughter of what she wanted.
Exactly.
It wasn't about what you want. It's about what my daughter wants.
And they hear the
Listen.
way that you're talking. Even though
Yeah.
you're doing your thing, you're talking from their perspective. You're thinking about what's their perspective. And that's what he emphasizes. Think about their perspectives. Use language that moves to their perspective. And it really makes people fall in love with you. You know, they love that. And it's very useful. And the better we get at it too, the less everything becomes about us, which is very fatiguing anyway, when life is about you. Even when, you know, everybody knows this, even if you're going through something personal that's challenging and you're meeting with the friends or different friends that haven't heard the story, and you keep telling this personal problematic story of yours, even though it's important to tell that story to your friends, you start to notice you get fatigued talking about yourself all the time. I was with two friends I hadn't seen in a long time today. I just bumped into them. I started talking about all my crap. And then I was like, okay, I need to stop for a second. And I was like, what's going on with you? One of my friends just got engaged. So I was like, hey, yeah, here's one of my kids right here. Hey, sweetheart. This is Ember. Say hi, that's Cynthia and Dawn. Any other questions?
Hi, how are you?
You can talk back. They can hear you.
I'm wanting.
I
This is
like
why
your
he's looking at
shirt.
herself. Are you looking at yourself? You're looking at them. What are you looking at? You looking at yourself? You little goofball. You little goofball.
I like your shirt with the butterfly.
This is my girly girl. She's the little
I
princess.
like butterflies.
She does.
Me
She likes
too.
pink and butterflies and dresses and
LOLs.
makeup and LOLs and her hair done and ballet and
There you
face
go.
paint.
How old are you?
5 years old.
You're 5.
So you're in first grade?
Pre-K.
She's gonna be
Pre-K?
in. You're gonna be in kindergarten.
I think so.
She's gonna be in kindergarten this fall.
Yes, she'll be in
She's
kindergarten.
finishing pre-K. She's on the older side, I think.
Yeah, my daughter was on the younger side.
Yeah, she's on the older side.
That's okay.
She look like me?
I was just thinking that she really does.
That except you don't have hair like me. only have
I
a-
knew that was coming.
I don't have hair. Oh,
Just teensy bit.
thanks for pointing that out. I couldn't tell.
She has your eyes.
She's got the gray face. This is the gray face right here.
Yep.
Yeah. Any other questions from you guys?
Not that I can think of.
Well, let's get to work. Set some good goals, Cynthia. Make that your goal. You know, to work on these, and then next week, make sure you give me an overview of what you guys are working on next, because I think that's kind of the main driver here, right? Is like, what's the next goal? How do I get it accomplished? Set a time frame around it, and then when you get stuck, let's figure out how to unstick it.
Okay.
Right.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Thumbs up. Okay, you guys are amazing. We will talk next week, and if you need me, you know where to find me.
Oh, I know where
Okay.
you're at.
All right,
Have
say
a good
bye,
week.
Amber. Hey, you guys too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.